Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the Sports Blitz. It's episode 41. Yes, I did say 41. And it's me, Doug. We have Robbie here. If you've just come out of your rock or your cave, it's better, so much better, to go back in right now because the world is crumbling down. But anyway, we're going to have some great sports talk with you tonight. And hey, Robbie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Just continuing to live a life of leisure here. Trying not
It's
to,
solitary.
yeah,
Solitary confinement.
trying not to, trying not to either get COVID or get looted. One or the other. Just
It's so wrong, Robbie. So wrong. This is just wrong.
Just trying to avoid, everything and everybody.
Robbie, you have to understand, people. Robbie does not actually come out of his room.
No.
So,
in fact, I'm not even sure if the door still works.
He has no idea. Actually, he's in that realm. He's been in there so long, he doesn't know where the door is anymore. So
it's right over here, right?
Yeah, see, he actually knows where it is. Okay, all right. Oh, that's the window. Okay, so
one door closes, a window opens, right? Isn't that some type of saying?
Yes, I have
I don't know.
No idea. So again, just like I mentioned, we're in episode 41. Last episode was awesome. We got some kind of some hits on that a little bit here and there, which is great. And so episode 41, we're going to really kind of touch base on things that we're, sports of today. We're going to actually play a little game a little bit later called What If? Really kind of cool. And so the first subject, it will be, I promise. So the first subject we're going to talk about is it looks like the sports teams are starting to get out of their cave and under a rock, which we're very excited about. So the first question I have for Robbie is, what are you doing? The first question
I was celebrating the team's.
Gotta be all serious and get going, and I got my group on, and all of a sudden I see you doing weird stuff. So the first subject I try to talk about before we go totally off the rails early is the sports teams coming back. So we have two teams that are definitely coming back right now. Now we're not going to talk about football because obviously it's not football season, and we could talk about that. That would probably be our last subject that we can talk about, just because there are thoughts about that too, a little bit here and there. But the two sports teams that are starting to come back, and I want to get Robbie's opinion on this, are basketball, which just signed an agreement today. They're going in a bubble in Orlando, which is really kind of cool. It's a very interesting, and again, Robbie, I want to ask you more if you know about the specifics of it, and kind of, does it make sense? And the other looks like hockey is going to be going also, and should be interesting to see about that. So, Robbie, what do you think about these teams coming back? At first, I mean, I know we're excited about it, but I think there's a little hesitation.
I feel like it definitely has been a long time coming, since sports kind of shut down back in March. We've all kind of been, as sports fans, waiting for the day when they would return to us, and we've sort of been, holding out hope and sort of getting our hopes up at different times, only to kind of have any progress sort of ground to a halt. So to sort of finally see formal progress towards that ultimate goal is very exciting. Yeah, the NBA, as Doug was just mentioning, their board of governors approved their plan to restart the season today. I think it was a 31-1 vote, and I think the Portland Trailblazers of all teams were the only team that dissented there. But
that was Damian Lillard, because
Damian Lillard.
He doesn't want to play unless he's in the playoffs. I don't know.
So apparently it's going to be 22 teams playing, as Doug was saying, in Orlando. and the Board of Govs. Um, the teams are going to play, I think, 8 regular season games to sort of finish off the regular season, which I mean, I guess I kind of get. I get seeding and stuff like that, and then they're going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to be starting at the end of July and finishing up in mid-October. Listen, as if it gets live sports back, I'm all for it. If it gets basketball back, I'm all for it. I mean, I would be for 2 teams playing a 20-game series at this point. I mean, it really does not matter to me at this point.
Robbie wouldn't mind if anybody would come out and just we just want to see some professional sports player hit a puck or throw a basketball.
I've been watching the most random. I mean, I was watching German soccer. I've watched Korean baseball. I watched pickup wiffle ball. I watched pickup wiffle ball on YouTube. I watched like this pickup wiffle ball league on YouTube. Just actually before we came on here. I mean, it's sad. I know I'm a weirdo. Look who's talking. But
that's why Robbie doesn't go out of his room that often. Because we don't allow him to. Dangerous. Very dangerous.
I'm a danger to myself and society. Anyway, what was I telling you about? Oh yeah. No, I think it's a good step forward. Yeah. Just was lost in a fog of my own self-isolation. But
coming to a head, isn't it?
I think it's going to be very exciting. The one thing that I found interesting, again, we can kind of touch on this more as we go along, was the talk about some potential benefits for the teams that are the higher seeds. Maybe I guess there's been some talk bounced around about what they could do for the top seeded teams. That's a very interesting idea, to say the least. But obviously, they're trying to make the best of a bad situation. I think they've actually done not a half bad job of it. So, in sort of summary, I'm excited. I just want it to come back as soon as possible, and hopefully the players. I know the players, I think, have to approve it before it actually becomes officially official. So hopefully they will approve it. Unlike in other sports that we have witnessed over the past few weeks. Yes, officially official.
What does that even mean? I don't even know what that means.
Let's just move on.
Okay, we're moving on.
You're moving on.
Moving
further along down the tracks of being off the rails. I think it's gonna be fun to watch.
So they're going to Orlando. They're gonna be in a bubble in Orlando, an island or whatever it is in Orlando, and everybody's gonna be there. All the teams are gonna be there, and so. Do you have any concerns about the reason that we're quarantined?
I mean, obviously, you have to take that into account, and obviously, there is some amount of concern out there with anything coming back.
All the teams, thanks.
What's gonna happen with that? I know that they're going to be doing very consistent testing with all the players once they are down there, and obviously have systems in place to sort of protect players that test positive, as well as other, if players test positive, sort of protect them, and also protect the players that have not yet been exposed. So you obviously, that's why they're doing this, is because they're trying to sort of bring basketball back, but do it in a way that is as safe as possible. And is as risk-free as possible if there really is such a situation in these days. But I think that the fact that they are pushing ahead with this, I would hope shows that they are confident that they can achieve it without causing a bigger problem. I know, again, there have been other leagues that are starting to come back in other countries that have been hit hard as well, and they've been able to transition back into play and not have any major issues, which I think is a good sign. So I mean, it is very doable. It's just a question of doing it. So it obviously remains to be seen, and it's going to be sort of taking it one step at a time. I feel like sort of taking it one day at a time, one step at a time. And
well, the other issue, Robbie, is that they're set to do the finals in November, correct?
October. I thought it was supposed to be like October 12th.
Right. Okay. Yep. No, there's a Woj came out with a breaking news.
No, I think November would be the next training camp, and then with the season
it would,
starting
but the
concern on December 1st.
The concern is the NBA Players Union director is a little surprised that they're starting so soon after the finals. So I think that she's concerned that.
Well, they did say that day is fluid. So I mean, obviously, there may be some changes depending on how things go there. So I wouldn't set anything in stone at this point, because
so training camp would start November 10th, and the opening night would be December 1st.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously.
Those are tentative dates.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously and that makes sense, because obviously you're going to go through, basically, what is it, 3 months of playing, and then you're going to have less than a month, and then you have to sort of start right back over again. I mean, I can understand the concern about player health and things like that.
It's a little worrisome when it comes to players'
having such a quick turnaround. So that makes a lot of sense. But I think that's something they're going to kind of have to negotiate later on. But I mean, I think the first and foremost thing should be sort of finishing out this season. Then like they kind of said, they can kind of be a little bit more fluid with the start to the 2020-2021 season, like has sort of been. And they've left room for that in this proposal.
Sure. The other question I have, Robbie, is kind of related to the last question I asked you, which is, well, what happens if it's the NBA playoffs and one of the major stars comes down with the virus?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a risk and that's a concern. I'm
not saying it's going to happen. I'm just
no. I know. I mean, hey, you have to talk about it, because it's right now it's a very real.
And does that give the other team a significant advantage?
I'll say this. Is
what are you going to say, Robbie?
I know. Yeah. Well, brace yourself. I'm
bracing.
It's kind of, and I know this is much more serious, so I don't want to try to do too much of sort of unequal comparisons here, but it's kind of like if a major star. And again,
it's just speculating.
Right. But it's kind of like if a major star gets, another injury during a playoff series. Like, let's just say, LeBron, tears his ACL or something like this, or something like that, during the first round of the playoffs. I mean, obviously, that situation as well would give the team that the Lakers or Celtics or whoever are facing, a big advantage. So you can't really, if you're going to sort of be focused on that, then you just shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be playing because, like I said, Giannis or LeBron or Kemba Walker could go on, roll their ankle the first game of the playoffs, and it's sort of the same. It's kind of the same situation where now you've got the other one of your star players down for the count, and the other team sort of gets a lift off of that. So
yeah, but it's a little different because when you roll an ankle, maybe that player's out for a little while, or maybe for the rest of the year. It's not infecting anybody else. So
that's a good
my
no,
my
that's a
issue
good
is
point.
that once you have that kind of situation, then you have to test everybody else. So what happens if somebody on the other team now has it? And then what happens if you have 4 or 5 players that now have it?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
now what do you do? Do you postpone the? Do you shut it down? Do you postpone? I mean, if there are 5 or 6 players that test
right.
positive on one team and then 2 on the other team, what do you do? I mean,
Yeah, those are all
do
great
you play the other
questions.
players, or do you? I
Those are
mean,
all great. Those are
how do
all
you
great
continue with
questions.
that?
It's true. I think it's interesting though, and not to get too far off base, but like when they had to shut it down originally because um, 2 players on the Jazz tested positive. Thank you. Yes, I am off base in so many ways.
Uh,
The thing that interested me was that those were the only 2 guys that actually tested positive on that team, and like Marcus Smart tested positive for the Celtics. Like nobody else on the Celtics that we know of tested positive. So it's kind of interesting to me. It's kind of interesting to me going through this, sort of seeing how guys who were in such a close proximity, to each other on a day in day out basis. Well, yes, a couple of them got it, and that's we don't want to see that. The majority of guys kind of somehow, some way escaped without any infection. So I think maybe that's what they're kind of looking at and saying, we can do this in a way that if somebody does get infected, minimizes the potential for the spread of said infection. Because I mean, knowing these leagues and knowing sort of their, just all these different areas, if they weren't I feel like they wouldn't. I understand there's the money aspect to it and losing money, but I
yeah.
feel like from a PR perspective and just even just looking ahead to the future perspective, they would not be coming back or even be considering coming back if they were not confident that they had a way that could deal with a situation like you just talked about. Because you have to think that that was one of the first scenarios in sort of planning the restart of the season they talked about, like what happens if someone gets infected, or 2 players get infected or something like that. You have to think that that's been a part of everyday conversations for them when they've been planning this.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of planning. I think I think it's good, but you have to, because it's a virus. You have to kind of think. And again, I'm not going to get into the medicals about this at all because it's a sports show. But the fact is that it could go the complete opposite way, which is like not too many people in the NBA were. There were 5 or 6 teams. Thank you, Dr. Doug. There were 5 or 6 teams that actually played. I mean, Marcus Smart got it because he had played somebody who got it, had it, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
There were 5 or 6 other teams in that span of time that actually played them, and nobody that we know of has positive.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't know how it worked out that way, but I think what I'm a little wary of is the fact that it might go the other way this time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and that's
No,
the thing, you don't
you're
know. So
right.
hopefully they have testing. Hopefully they have enough thought process, and I'm sure they have because they've had months to do it. Is the thought process in trying to figure out how they can put these games on, not just safely, but in a way where it's good for everybody, and be able to, if something does happen, they're able to kind of move around it in whatever way possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same as the NHL. I mean, it's the same. It's not really much different than the NHL. Came out today that a Pittsburgh Penguin player has been diagnosed with COVID. They won't announce who it is,
Yeah. I
but they
saw
said
that.
that he's doing fine and that he
He's in
is
quarantine and
in quarantine, but
isolation.
he's also recovering, which means he does have some symptoms, but they're not bad. My feeling is, and this is my gut feeling, is that it's somebody big. Why would they tell somebody that Joe Smith has? Well, why wouldn't they say somebody that has that? Unless it's, I'm going to go with my gut on this. I'm thinking that that is probably somebody big, somebody a name that we know. And I'm not going to speculate who it is. I'm just saying I think it's a name, and he just doesn't want the information. It's
Yeah.
possible. This is possible. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I mean, just with it all going around, I mean, you don't know who's going to pick it up next, or what's going to happen. I mean, it's one of those things where you just don't know which way it's going to go. I mean, there's been so many situations where it could have been disastrous with this thing and really wasn't that bad, and then there's been other situations where you didn't really think much of it, but then it sort of led to led to issues. Yeah, Dr. Robbie. Yeah, exactly. We're
But
the
we're
two
not doctors. We
doctors
just
here.
play.
We just play
We
them
just
on
played on sports
podcasts.
radio
On
about
podcasts,
the
yeah,
sports blitz.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is we really don't know until, as much as I sort of hate to say, you don't know until you try. You don't know what's going to happen until you
That's
sort
right.
of take that step sort of into that water, figuratively, and see what happens.
Yeah, I guess that's basically what you got to do. But I think just having having that thought process that the sports is coming back, at least those two, is exciting.
Yeah.
But I think people are a little wary of it too. I think people are excited about it, but they're kind of internalizing it a little bit and saying, let's try it out and see what happens, but maybe this could happen, or maybe that could happen, maybe nothing could happen, and everything's fine. So nobody knows in that respect, but hopefully they have the right protocols to be able to, deal with whatever they have to deal with.
Right.
I would like to talk about your favorite sport.
I'm embarrassed of my favorite sport at this point.
Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Major League Baseball, Robbie. I'm going to let you start. I'm going to try. This is what I think of Major League Baseball. Right?
Yeah. I don't know if there's going to be a season. I don't know what's going on. I just think the word that comes to mind plainly and clearly is selfish.
So what's to tell people if they don't know, what's the last thing what was proposed, and obviously it was not.
Yeah, so the last proposal was by the players, I believe. It was for a 115 game season, and again, I'm not exactly sure about the salary numbers there, but basically, I mean, that's the big issue. The two big issues are the number of games and the salaries.
They said they didn't want that. This was proposed by the players,
Yeah.
And the players did not want to have any of the salary cuts. So what they did was they brought down the games to either a 114 or 115.
115,
and then they said no salary cut.
But now the owners are, sort of counting with 50 games. So I mean, just like you look at the differences there, and again, I'm disappointed in both sides, honestly, as it comes down to. I mean, here you are, you've got 40 million people unemployed, and I hate to get too much into this stuff, but it's like you have 40 million people unemployed. You've got just all this other stuff going on, and you are, basically multimillionaires and billionaires. Yeah, exactly. Political boy. That's really what I don't want to get down that political rabbit hole because I'll never get out of it.
Did you come out of a rabbit hole?
Yeah, I've come out of several. I've basically become because I've become a rabbit at this point. I've gone down so many rabbit holes.
I don't really want to hear what you're
Yeah,
doing.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Uh,
I'm just gonna move past that one. But again, you've got just
Walk on
basically
by, Robbie.
multi-millionaires and billionaires arguing over millions of dollars. It's so tone deaf. It is tone deaf to what is going on right now in this country. And when baseball had sort of a chance to be sort of the leaders, we're going to come back, we're going to work together, we're going to do this, we're going to bring America's pastime back. They've gone completely the opposite direction, where now this is like one of their collective bargaining agreement negotiations, where just both sides are just kind of like sipping at each other, and just both sides come out of this terribly. I'll tell you what, and listen, I love baseball. I love baseball since I was 5 years old, and I love Major League Baseball. But if this causes them to not have a 2020 season, MLB is never going to be the same. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be permanently, not just for a year or so, but are going to be permanently turned off to watching Major League Baseball if they do not get their act together and have a 2020 season. Period. End of story. It's stupid. They're being selfish, and they just need to look in the mirror and say just look in the mirror and say we need to be better than this, and just come together for the sake of everybody, for the sake of their sport. I mean, for nothing else, do it for the sake of their sports, so they have jobs to be, so that they have more and more millions of dollars to be paid to them down the road. I mean, so that's sort of my long-winded take on it.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best compromise? I mean, you got two sides going back and forth. I mean, what's going to be good for each one? I mean, after they say, like after this, that the players sent to the owners, they said, no money off, but we'll bring the games up to 115. And they said, and the owners came back and they were like, no, that's not going to happen. That's not what we want, and we're not going to negotiate it. And both sides have said the same thing, and they keep throwing stuff out. I don't know what's going to be, and I'm just kind of asking you, knowing the game more than anybody in the world. What do you think is what do you think is going to end this thing?
Well, I think for games wise, I think you can sort of find a compromise, right in the middle. I mean, I think somewhere between 114 and 50 games, you can find a middle ground there. I mean, obviously the money is the big issue. It's tough because I understand the owners are going to be losing a good chunk of change on this deal, even if they do come back, because they're not going to have fans, any of the ballparks. They're going to not have the full 162 game season. Now, the only thing I will say is that they could make a good chunk of change on TV and advertising deals, because obviously a lot of people are going to be, tuning in from home and stuff like that. So that's a big thing. You'd like to say, maybe they could split it 50-50 and sort of call it a day, but I don't know. I honestly I do not know what it's going to take, sort of seeing what's going on out there, because both sides seem to have dug their heels in, and just looking at how far off they are, on this level of negotiations. It's not like it's the first offer, from either side, where usually, you're you're kind of far off, and then you sort of bring it closer together. I mean, we've been through a couple cycles now of offers, and they are still way off in so many areas that, like I said, I honestly do not know what it's going to take to bring them together. I hope that they get brought together. I mean, believe me, I want them to find some way to bring it together, but I don't know what it's going to take looking at the situation as it currently stands.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Wanted to know. I know you've watched some of the overseas baseball. I know some of the overseas baseball actually has these interesting figures in the stands. I wanted to know what you thought about that. And actually, there was a team in Taiwan.
I love SpongeBob sitting right behind home plate. I mean, it's great.
I know, I saw that. There was a team in Taiwan that actually they actually got a little bit in trouble a few weeks ago because they bought these what they thought to be kind of like cardboard cutouts, and it turned out
I saw that
they were not cardboard cutouts. They were
cardboard cutouts. They were exactly. They were not the best image that you want to portray during a baseball game.
So what do you think about not having fans in the stands and maybe having some crowd noise pumped in? And is that going to impede players and their concentration on the game and that kind of thing, and having those fake things in the stands?
I think it's going to impede their concentration because, I mean, if anything, it kind of brings it somewhat closer to normal because, I mean, they're used to crowd noise in their stadiums. And I'll say this, I was watching one of the German soccer matches, and they don't have any fans, but what they've been doing is they've been pumping in, crowd noise. And actually, if you didn't know or didn't see through the wide shot that there were no fans in the stands, you actually would have thought there were fans there. It really gave him much more of a yes, German. Yes, I am soccer boy. All of a sudden, soccer boy. Give me my vuvuzela. But anyway,
there goes Robbie with throw it down at the soccer.
Throw it down soccer terps. There we go.
Awesome. There it goes.
It made the broadcasters seem that much more normal and usual. You're excused. I don't necessarily have a problem with that because obviously, again, you're not going to be able to have fans in the stands, to at least to start out with. So, I mean, it may not be the worst idea. I mean, I haven't necessarily had a problem on the other side of things, watching some of these Korean baseball games, and they haven't really pumped in noise, so to speak, and it hasn't been that big a problem. So I mean, I can kind of go either way on it. But if you're gonna do it, may not be the worst thing in the world. I really don't think it's gonna necessarily affect concentration when players have kind of gotten used to dealing with noise in the stadium to begin with. So I don't see it.
Right, but it's going to be different because it'll be pumped in. It'll be totally. It sounds different than actual fans, but that's fine. No, I totally get what you're talking about. So I could see I could see Fenway Park, and you have all these blow up dolls, and you have these cardboard cutouts, and then you have right behind home plate, you see Robbie. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. That'd be good, huh? What you think?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I loved having SpongeBob behind home plate for a Korean game or Taiwan or whatever country it was that they were doing it. So
yeah, I think it was Taiwan.
Yeah. But yeah, I think. I don't know. It would be interesting to sort of have cardboard cutouts in the stands. It would definitely, take a little getting used to, but it's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Let's put it that way.
And you don't think the crowd noise is going to be because crowd noise is a little different when it's pumped in. It just sounds
like
different.
I said, watching, sort of hearing it the way it was coming in the game I was watching the other day, it sounded relatively normal. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it sounded like, relatively like you would hear in a fully, a full soccer stadium.
Wow.
But I mean, obviously that's soccer, so baseball might be a little bit different, or, hockey or basketball. I don't, I'd have to sort of see it in action before I could really give you a full evaluation of that prospect.
Well, that makes sense. Makes sense. I'm assuming you're excited about seeing baseball if baseball ever comes.
Of course, I believe me. You know me. You know how much I
do. You
would
be out there playing if you needed to.
Love baseball. I'm ready for my close up. But yeah,
you just came up really closely, so I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh wait, I just lost me. Now you just lost my face there. I don't want that. Maybe you do. I don't know. Yeah. Knowing Doug, that probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I really wanted to come back, but at the same time, I mean, it's obviously not up to me, and I hope that these players and owners can, sort of suck it up, or grow up and kind of think of what's best for everybody as opposed to just what's best for them. So it remains to be seen. Like I said, I think I'm more sort of getting on the basketball and hockey train right now because it looks like those two are actually, coming back, moving forward and coming back. So.
No, that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So we're actually right now. Do you have any final thoughts on it coming back? I think you just did.
I think I pretty much have said my piece there.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have any final thoughts on those particular subjects. But our next segment, we're actually going to do a little game. And it's called What If?
Ooh.
And it's a really cool game. So what you do is you kind of think about the past a little bit. And it doesn't matter what sport it is. It could be any sport except soccer. I don't know anything about soccer. And not auto racing and not
no golf. Please no golf.
Horse racing and no golf.
No golf.
This is typically the major sports and stuff that has happened out there.
Rivers G-ball. Go back to our last episode.
What would have happened if Jamie Rice didn't hit that ball off of the plaque and it didn't go to the center of the field?
You would have lost a great story.
It would have been a really sucky story, actually.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. It did happen that way.
Yeah.
So this is called What If, and I'm just going to throw some what ifs out there, and I want us to kind of talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Especially if we remember. If we don't remember, then that's a problem.
Yeah, there's obviously there's probably from before my time, but that's okay.
There may be, but it may not be. I mean, some of it's pretty good, I think. I mean, and if Robbie, if you could think of anything, any what ifs coming your way, just throw them out there because I don't.
Can I actually throw one out that just popped into mind before you start yours?
Oh, go right ahead.
What if this one's somewhat of a simple one, but what if the Red Sox made the 2011 playoffs and didn't choke in September?
I don't know. Would they have won?
I think they would have had a really good chance at it, given that given that line, given that team that they had on paper.
Yeah.
I think they would have had a really good chance at it. But again, we're hypothesizing here, so.
Yes, of course.
But
Yeah, that's very possible with that lineup. Absolutely, I agree with that.
yeah, yeah.
I totally
So
agree with that.
I saw the reason why that came to mind was because I saw a post or pretty exactly. I guess Carl Crawford was arrested for I don't know what the charges were there, but yeah, Carl Crawford was arrested within the past day or two.
That's really nothing new, actually, Robbie. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I don't know.
Huh?
I mean, I don't know. No, I'm sure it is new. I'm just saying that he's, if I remember correctly, and been in trouble before. So
Yeah, no, this was something relatively new because I just
breaking
saw.
news. This is breaking
No,
news.
it's not breaking news. Um,
Oh, I've never heard of it.
hold on one second. I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up
Talk amongst
right
yourselves.
now. He
Did I do a
was
jig?
he yeah, I guess the incident itself happened in May, in like mid-May, and he was arrested on June 4th. So he was arrested today. So yeah, this kind of breaking news. Yeah, he was arrested today in Texas, and
Texas.
yeah, so things just continue to go so swimmingly for Carl Crawford.
Well,
Boy,
everybody's a little bored.
what a bust of a sighting that was.
Everybody,
Jeez.
everybody's a little bored. We're stuck inside.
Anyway, so why don't you go ahead with getting off Carl Crawford? Why don't you go ahead
Just for a minute.
with some of your what ifs here? Because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so I have a feeling that as soon as I start these, you may start thinking of some what ifs too.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Just throw them in there when you can. So how about this one? What if Brady never got hurt in 2008?
Ooh, wow. I think they definitely make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
I think they definitely make the playoffs again. Maybe avenge that Super Bowl loss to the Giants.
Yep.
That's kind of like a what if Plaxico Burress never makes that helmet catch in that Super Bowl game?
There you go.
Let me throw it to you, Doug. What if Plaxico Burress never makes that helmet catch in that Super Bowl?
I think we have a better chance of winning the damn game.
Do you think we
That would hurt.
That would hurt. Because that play, you have to remember on that play, Eli Manning literally should have been sacked like at least 2 or 3 times on that play. And I remember the referee actually came out and said he was about a second away from blowing that play dead before Manning kind of got away and got that pass off. So there were sort of 2 situations of that play that.
What if the referee blew it dead?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. No, it's a good point.
Same exact thing, right?
We could have been 19-0. We were about a second away from probably being 19-0.
That's a killer. That one hurts.
Yeah.
That one really
hurts.
So
bad.
That one hurts big time.
Okay, wait. I got one more.
Oh, he's got another one. See, I told you. As soon as I start this,
now this one's kind of interesting. So
it's not the same one I have.
No. It's from another Super Bowl, but it's what if Malcolm Butler doesn't intercept the pass at the goal line?
No, it's fine. It wasn't going next. It was my last one. So it's my last one.
I'm taking away his idea. I'm unintentionally taking.
No, that's fine. You're not taking it away. This is part of the game. This is part of the game. Everybody thinks of 1 or 2 or 12.
I think if he doesn't intercept that pass and like maybe breaks it up, I think, as much as I hate to say this, and don't flood me with hate mail, Pats fans, I think the Seahawks learn their lesson, run the ball, and potentially get a touchdown on the next play.
I think if Malcolm Butler played, I think we would have won that Super Bowl. That would have been our fourth.
Well, that's another what if. What if he?
That would have been our fourth, I think.
What if he actually played that Eagles Super Bowl? That's a completely different what if. Yeah, I think we would have had a much better chance.
That's crazy. So this one is way, way out there. But
Okay.
I think you'll like it. Now, don't say anything until I get through the whole thing because it's not long or anything. It's
I'm
just I got
I'm
to get through the whole thing.
my
Okay,
lips
here
are
we go.
sealed.
What if in 1996 Bill Parcells never left and Bill stays with the Jets?
Ooh. Oh man.
What happens?
Oh, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. So no, yeah, because it went Parcells, Carroll, and then Belichick.
Correct.
Okay, that's true because Carroll came right. Okay, yeah, I got you. I'm with you now.
That's a tough one.
Because then the sort of question, does Parcells draft Brady? Does he put Brady in when Bledsoe gets injured? It definitely could have altered, the course of the franchise there.
Would we have won as many Super Bowls? Would we have
I
been in that many Super Bowls? I mean,
I
even
mean,
with
believe me,
Bill, the other Bill.
you'd like to say yes, but at the same time, I can't. I don't think so.
Not
Honestly,
what fate.
my
That's not what fate tells us. The fate tells us is that this was supposed to happen. So Bill picks Brady.
my
When Bill
honest
picks Brady, that's when everything
my
went.
honest answer is no. We would not have had the same success that we have if that had happened.
On the same route of that.
Okay.
You ready? What happens if Bledsoe never gets hurt?
Same thing.
You just walk. You just went totally back to you're like, what happened there?
Same thing. Same thing. I think it's same thing. And not same thing in terms of our success. In terms of like us having the success we had under Brady, I think it's the
I
same
think
thing
we would have had later success. Brady would not have started then.
Right. He would. I think he would have come on.
Would have started later.
Later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, it's a really good question.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge what if, though. I mean, that's a huge what if.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have never known about Brady until maybe a year or two later. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
I do.
That hit, Bledsoe hit was basically kind of knocked Bledsoe right out.
Right.
He was pretty much done after that.
Right.
I mean, the guy almost died. I mean, if you really want to know the truth, I mean, he had a ruptured spleen. I mean, he got hit.
Yeah.
I mean, really hard. So it's one of those things where if he never gets hit, we don't see Brady until maybe a year or two later. Now, I'm not saying we wouldn't have the same success, but it still would be a later portion. So it's kind of interesting to think.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does make you think. I got another one that just came to mind. It's not football related, but I don't want to take another one from you. So I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see if you do later on down the road.
Okay. Well, I have a couple more anyway, but we can still talk about them. We're gonna go to basketball.
Okay.
What if Kendrick Perkins wasn't traded from the Celtics? And remember that 2000, I think was it 2009 or 2010 where I think it was 2009 where he actually got hurt.
Yeah, and
that's why we didn't win.
I was about to say they probably would have beaten the Magic.
What if Kendrick another what if? What happens if Kendrick Perkins doesn't win?
They would have beaten the Magic. The finals, I believe, was the Lakers versus. We could have had conceivably 3 straight Celtics Lakers finals apparently.
Right.
Finals series if
that's
that
correct.
Happened. Yeah.
So what if Kendrick wasn't traded? I mean, if Kendrick wasn't traded, we would have.
I still feel like the course would have somewhat gone similarly because I don't think Kendrick the way that sort of road went after he got traded with the big 3 kind of because I still think Ray Allen probably goes to Miami, and so I just
that'd be another what if. What if he decided to stay?
Yeah, maybe.
which he wasn't going to. But
yeah, that's a tough one because I mean I feel like that one I can more see it staying the same. Yeah, I could sort of more see it going both ways. I don't see as dramatic of a change that I see the one with him. Not being injured against the Magic, I think is a dramatic change. Because I think if we win that game, yes, I do go both ways. Don't tell anybody.
oh my gosh,
God, jeez, come
Robbie,
on, man.
what is
Come
going
on.
on with
I don't know,
you?
man. You're the one who typed it. You're the one who typed in the chat. Okay. You're the one who typed
I
in.
did, but I didn't expect you to like answer the question.
What
Which is okay.
you don't know the rules that
I don't know the rules of the chat room. I don't know the rules of the chat room. I'm sorry.
We literally have been like saying everything. So.
Dude, we're making the rules up as we go along.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's just,
we're pulling the rules really out of our ass right now.
Rules are right. Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. I had to pull another one out. Hold on.
Well,
okay, I got one.
Family friendly show here.
Family friendly. Well, I didn't show anything. All
no,
right.
Kidding, obviously.
So, what about this one?
Okay.
What happens? And I think you may remember this. Let's see. Who's involved? Tom Brady, Paul Pierce. The courting of KD.
Ooh. Yeah.
What happens? Now listen to this. Listen to this because there's a little twist that goes along with this. What happens if they convince KD to come to Boston? KD comes to Boston, and I think a year later, who comes to Boston after
Kyrie?
There it is.
I think immediately, we win at least one of those Eastern Conference Finals that we played against LeBron in over that time.
Yes,
frame.
definitely.
Maybe even win it. Yeah, I mean, I know Golden State, but of course, then Durant doesn't go to Golden State, so maybe we have a better chance of beating Golden State in a final series with him on our side as opposed to in Oakland. So it's I think that would drastically have changed our for that time frame playoff lives if he had come here without a doubt.
Because I think Kyrie would have had a different attitude. He would have maybe he did, maybe he wouldn't have. But I think he would have known.
No, I think he would have. I think he would have because him and KD are boys. There's no question. Hence the fact they both, basically followed each other to Brooklyn. So I think it would have made a big difference for Kyrie. No question.
I think it would have been a different outcome. I really do. I think that things might have gone in a different direction. That's just
all right. I got a basketball what if for you. It's not Celtics related.
No, it doesn't have to be Celtics. I just picked this out of
No. But and maybe you have it. And if you have it already on your list, I apologize.
I don't.
But what if LeBron stays in Cleveland the first time around?
Yeah. Yeah, I think things would be a little different.
I think Cleveland would be swimming in title appearances, maybe even some more championship than just the one when he came back, in 2016. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you probably
things would definitely be different for Miami. Things would definitely be different for Miami during those 4 years.
Absolutely different.
Yeah.
Absolutely different. I mean, what would happen if I just came up with this and it's more the Larry Bird era. What happens if Larry doesn't hurt his back? And the reason he hurt his back and the reason he had a bad back and he had all these kinds of injuries, he played really hard. I mean, he went into stands. He went into, he fell on seats. He was, that kind of player. But the last couple of years that he played, he was laying on the ground before he got in. And actually, when he played in the '96, right? The All-Star team. That's the '96 team.
I
That the
believe,
big
I
team.
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh,
When he
you mean the
played
Dream Team?
Dream Team.
Sorry, 92. 92 is the
92.
Dream Team.
92.
Yeah, 92 is the
When he
Dream
played
Team.
on the '92 Dream Team, he had a hurt back at that point too. The guy could like he didn't practice a lot at all because of the fact that he had such a bad back. He did play and played fairly well too. I mean, Magic and now I know why they call it the Dream Team. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's kind
Just
of
having those.
it is
players.
kind of funny, you know, how like as we're going through this, like just more and more of these what ifs are just kind of like popping into my head. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Well, that's what's supposed to happen.
it's kind of like what if Ainge never brings in Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett? What if he never actually forms that big three?
Very good point.
It would have been a very different sort of 5 or 6 year period in Celtics history. I could tell you that much, given what had happened leading up to them signing those two.
So here's a baseball one for you.
Wait, can I just do one more basketball one?
Go ahead.
It's kind of basketball and baseball related. What if Michael Jordan stays with baseball and never comes back to the NBA?
I don't think that would have ever happened.
I'm,
He actually, if you look at if you watch that series, that 10 episode series,
yeah,
you know that even Terry Francona was on that and said this guy could play. He was hitting over 200.
He maybe could have made it to the big show.
It's very possible he could have made it. That's correct.
Yeah. Anyway,
but I think his real love is basketball.
Of course.
Ultimately, why he came back. But,
of course.
But on the flip side of it, how about this? Baseball. Ready?
Okay.
What happens? What if in 1986 a certain ball did not go under a certain person's legs? I knew that was going to hurt you, man. I knew it was going to hurt. I knew it was going to hurt.
Hey, you know, at least we've won 4 since then. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think that because obviously then the game, you know, goes on to, you know, continues on to extra innings there and to further into extra innings there. I think that we, you know, there's a good chance we ultimately find a way to pull it out and win it and actually, you know, reverse the curse then as opposed to, you know,
very possible
18 years later.
2004.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, here's a what if for, and again, this was the one I was mentioning earlier, and again, if I take it off your list, I apologize in advance.
Dude, I'm just thinking about it. My list is all done, so you don't have to worry about my list.
What if
list is all done?
What if Grady pulls Pedro?
Oh,
yeah. Let's go for that one. What if Grady pulls Pedro?
Oh, that would.
Because I know exactly what I mean. I know my answer is clear cut as day.
Go ahead. What's your answer?
We're going to the World Series.
Yeah, right.
We're playing the freaking Marlins in the World Series.
I agree with that.
No, I think the bullpen would have come in and shut it down, and we would have, you know, we would have been going on to the Fall Classic. I mean, do you have a differing opinion there, or?
I don't. I don't. I think you're absolutely right.
It's kind of like in the same context there. And again, this one just sort of popped in my head. You know, what if Bartman never touches the foul ball? What if let me go even further. What if Bartman never touches the foul ball and a Lou catches it?
Oh man, see, this is what comes up. This is what comes
Yeah.
up. I mean, you think about what could have happened.
Yeah. I think the Cubs are going to the World Series, not the Marlins. I think that's for sure.
Right about that.
Oh man.
Definitely right about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's just
Now,
crazy to think about what if. And
now this one,
that's what makes it fun.
yeah. Well, now this one's a little. So yeah, I think that Roberts. Yeah, I mean, I think we would have been swept, and we would have been talking about reversing the curse, and
It would have been horrible, man. Horrible.
it would have been brutal. It would have been just. Can't even imagine what that would have been like.
What if another baseball one? What if a certain Bucky Dent did not hit a home run? These are killing Robbie. I know
it's killing me here.
Killing him. They're totally killing him. Unfortunately, in baseball, not recent history, but past history, we have a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not recent history. Thank God. Thankfully.
Yeah. Phew. But yeah, that would have been definitely. I think the Red Sox would have won that game, and been moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one hurt big time. That one was actually a curse for a little while too.
Mm-hmm.
That one was like every time we saw him in Fenway, I mean, he got booed and everything like that, but he just was a Red Sox killer. He was just a great player against the Red Sox.
Right.
Against them. So it's just, I remember going, oh no, oh, that didn't just happen. So, I just think that's what makes the game fun, is that you kind of think of what if.
Yeah, that's a great game.
Especially
if
you have it toward you.
You could do a whole episode of just playing that game, because there's.
I think we should come up. I think we should do this on a regular basis and come up with a whole bunch of what ifs, even if there's just a couple here and there.
Yeah.
And just kind of think about that for future episodes.
And it could be like it could be like college, pro, whatever.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Maybe.
Hey, Robbie, I found one. Okay, you ready? You said college, and all of a sudden, came right to my brain.
Okay.
So, what happens if Gerald Phelan didn't catch the flutie catch?
They would have lost. We
would have lost the game. I know it was not. I know, but I'm just saying it's one of those things where that was a Hail Mary, and those don't have. I mean, those catches don't happen that often.
Well, there was that play, and I don't know if you remember this, but there's that play in the Auburn Alabama game. It was like a few years back with the guy Kai. The Alabama attempted a field goal with like a second to go. They missed it, and the guy returned it for a touchdown. And Alabama ended up going to the national championship game.
Oh yeah,
or Auburn ended up going to the national championship game. So it's like, what happens if he doesn't return that for a touchdown? Could have gone.
Got tackled.
Could have gone a completely different way.
Yes.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think we should try to think of some more and put them on some different episodes. We could do a what if segment and
that'd be great.
Just have it out there, and I think it'd be really cool. We want to know what you think too. So
give us your what ifs, and we'll maybe if people.
We'll talk about them. I'll make a list of your what ifs, and we'll put them on there because and then we'll talk about it, and then if you know what, I'll go one step further. You put your name on it, even if it's like Doug Z or whatever. You don't have to put your last name. Put your name on it. I'll mention you.
Yeah.
We'll mention you. We don't have a problem doing that.
That's right.
So you be podcast famous for about
Sports Blitz famous for the day. Be 20 people.
20 seconds.
that tune
20
into this
seconds.
podcast.
Oh, come on. We have 2 million people that are following us.
It's,
No,
no, we don't.
no, we don't. Although I'd like it to happen. Although now that it's on YouTube, never know. So we'll see.
We could go viral.
We'll see.
Who knows?
I think we should go viral. I
Uh,
really do. Anyway, besides that, that's really all I got right now, Robbie.
I mean, I guess my only
wanna-
question before we kind of start to wrap up: do you want to
Sure.
bring up the Drew Brees situation, or do you kind of?
Well, that was kind of in my final thoughts.
Oh,
but-
okay. All right. Then let's do that then. I'll save that. I'll save that for you.
Yeah, but we can also talk about it a little bit back and forth.
All right.
So that's fine.
Right.
But Robbie, so we're in our final thoughts segment. So I'd like to put it over to you. What is your final thought for this evening?
Yeah. So my final thought is Boston College, obviously, who we actually just kind of mentioned there, and is obviously my favorite collegiate program. They just hired a new athletic director. His name is Patrick Kraft, and he's the former AD at Temple. And obviously, it was kind of a surprise that the old AD Martin Jarman left suddenly to go to UCLA after just 3 years here at BC. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he does well at UCLA. I really enjoyed his time here. Yes, I am a college football geek. But I just want to say that I like this new hire because he was sort of part of really turning around the football program there at Temple over the last few years, and obviously with BC bringing in a new head football coach and Jeff Hafley, hopefully they can really turn things around for the BC football program, because being a BC football season ticket holder, I am tired of 6-5 seasons. I am tired of losing bowl games 43-10 to Cincinnati. I'm very tired. Yes, very exhausted. I'm gonna go actually take a nap now while we're recording. But I welcome obviously Patrick Kraft to BC, and I really hope this is the start of another successful, generation in terms of all BC athletics, especially the football program, given a new head coach and a new AD. Come hopefully come the 2020 college football season. So that's what I got. Just want
is this guy's last name? I saw the guy's last name, but I can't remember how it's spelled. Is it Kraft as in K-R-A-F-T? AFT?
Yeah.
Any relation?
I don't believe so. I feel like people have been jumping all over that if there was. So I haven't heard anything like that.
Let's see what his record is.
Yeah.
He's got the although it's not Robert Kraft that coaches the team.
But anyway, what is your Doug? What is your final thought?
My final thought is on Drew Brees. I'm not going to get controversial right now, so I'm going to try not to. What I'd like to do is just kind of give my opinion on it, and again, it's my only opinion, no controversy. That's right. Although the best thing to do when there is controversy is to talk about it, and this is the forum to do it. As far as I'm concerned, even if it's a Zoom call, it doesn't matter. I think that's the basis for what we're kind of going through as a country right now. Is we need to, if we have conflicts, we need to talk about them. Nonviolent speech and just nonviolent protesting is really the way to go, especially now with small businesses being out and stuff like that. Anyway, Drew Brees had a little bit of a conversation. It actually was I think it was a Zoom call that he might have done, but I don't think it was done. It was done, I think, within the last week or so. It was not done like yesterday or today. Right. But basically, he brought up the fact that he was basically his two grandfathers were in World War II, and the way he recognizes the way he thinks about them, and the way he was brought up was to honor the flag. And the way he does that is that he stands for the national anthem.
Right.
And with this whole controversy about Black Lives Matter, I totally get that. When it comes down to around the time that Kaepernick was doing this kneeling during that, and other players were doing the same thing, this is what Drew Brees would do. So you have to understand where he's coming from. Drew Brees would stand up and put his hand over his chest for the anthem, and then after the anthem was over, he would kneel down. He would kneel. He just didn't do it during the anthem because he said that this is how I want to represent and think about my grandparents being in World War II, being a veteran, respecting the flag.
Right.
Again, his opinion, his thoughts, that's fine. Well, he apologized today for everything that he mentioned in the last thing. By the way, I just wanted to tell you that he lives in New Orleans. New Orleans is 60% African American, and he does an incredible amount of donating to African American causes. And when there was a hurricane there, can't remember exactly when that was, but
was it Katrina?
I think it was Katrina. When Katrina happened, he donated millions.
Yeah.
And he's got his own fund that people put money into, that he donated to the relief fund and stuff like that. So that could tell you what type of guy he is, but he had to apologize for his thoughts on what he thought about how he deals with all this. And I don't know. My personal opinion is that everybody has an opinion. I think there is, without getting political, I think there is a race problem. I think there is a race problem in the United States. I think there is. I think we need to be more aware of it. I think that there needs to be some kind of check and balance when it comes to policemen. I have one of my best friends is a policeman. And I talked to him about this, and he even thinks, and in Fairfield, Mass, and he thinks that these guys were absolutely wrong in what they did. They were murderers, and they should go to jail forever. And that's what he told me in a text.
Right.
So there are some really great policemen out there doing some great work. I think there needs to be some checks and balances in where there is a situation where if a guy is starting to do things that are not right, after the first thing that he doesn't right, he needs to have more training. After the second thing, he needs a little bit more training, And after the third, he's gone. This guy had 19 things that were against him that were not right, and he kept getting off from it.
Right.
And this is also our politicians, our representatives, our mayors, our governors, all those people need to get together and do this. When it comes to Drew Brees, I understand what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. I understand why he said what he said, but I also understand why he apologized. I understand that he wants to understand more about what's going on, just like I do. I don't know if Robbie knows, but doing a sports podcast, we are now part of that. We've done 41 of these. We are part of the media, whether we have 2 followers or whether we have 2 million followers. It doesn't matter. We're part of it now. So, and we have opinions too. I want to know more about what's going on with African American issues. And I grew up, and I'll tell you right up front, I grew up in the Jewish side of things. And I'll tell you, the Jews have been persecuted all throughout time also. There's been lots of groups that have been persecuted. But I want to know more about these issues so we can talk about them have a conversation and be able to see what we can do about solving some of the issues, if not all.
Right.
That's just my opinion, but I think what Drew Brees did was the right thing to do. And a lot for New Orleans, and that's just what my opinion is.
I will, and I'll say this too, is that, I don't necessarily agree with Drew Brees's, what he said. I don't necessarily think it was the right time for him to say it, but what I will say is this, is that I don't think that you should take those comments and somehow turn it into sort of roping Drew Brees into having something against African Americans. I think that I think his issue with, kneeling during the national anthem does not take away from the fact of what he has done for that city and for the African American community and all of that. I mean, do I think that him making the comments at this time was the right thing to do? Personally, I don't. But again, it's his opinion, and he has a right to that opinion, and I am all for that. Just like
He does have the stage. He is a prominent person. He does have the stage. He's not African American, and he does have a stage to be able to say things that he needs to say. So I don't have a problem with when he said it. I think that he may have, parsed a few words in here and there to make it sound like he was kind of against the kneeling during that time, that he didn't think that it was respect for the flag. And the fact is that everybody has their own way of doing things. He was doing it after the anthem. Cap was doing it during the anthem. And some of his players were doing it during the anthem. So I think at this point, everybody has the right to do what they think is best for them. And that's what I think.
Yeah, and I say, like I said, I think that it's sort of, him disagreeing with fellow players kneeling during the anthem does not in any way indicate that he is somehow against, what they are kneeling for. I think it's two completely separate. I think it's two different things. Being against the kneeling should not indicate to anybody that he's somehow against the plight of African Americans or anything like that. Because I mean, I don't think that they couldn't be further from the truth, knowing him and knowing what he's done for that city and for that community. So I think that's the big thing for me, is that you can look at sort of Drew Brees' comments, but also just make sure that you sort of look at them in the context of yeah, we do have a voice now. Make sure you look at them in the context of what specifically he's talking about, which is kneeling for the anthem. And I don't want anybody, and I don't think anybody really has, but I don't think anybody should take what he said and somehow turn it into like, oh well, he's against the African American community, because that's a load right there. If you try to do that, you're grasping at straws. So so that's sort of my whole
some
thing.
Some of his own players actually went after him today, and that was yesterday actually, I believe.
But some have come out and said they've forgiven his apology.
Yes, because he apologized. So when he apologized, they all of them have forgiven him for that, and they know he's a brother. They play on the same team.
Right.
They're brothers on the same team, so they understand that part of it.
Right.
Everybody has a different view of the world.
Yeah.
What we need to do is need to have more respect for the different views. That's what we need to do. And we have a platform. We've had 41 episodes, and we have a platform that doesn't matter how many people listen to it, it's still a platform. So it's one of those things where, we respect, all people, and we want to make sure that all people are heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. It's all about respect, like you just said.
Absolutely.
So
So, hey, RESPECT right there. Big letters. That's a good way to end the show, too.
Find out what it means to me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Great song.
Oh yeah.
Great
Oh
song.
yeah. Very classic song right there.
That's true. That's true. So, Robbie, we're done with episode 41 of the Sports Blitz.
Yeah, good episode.
Thank you so much. Hey, listen, we're gonna start saying at the top of the show. We're gonna start saying at the bottom of the show. We are on SoundCloud. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Twitter. Listen, hit us up with show requests. Hit us up with your what ifs. We're going to have some more really cool stuff that are coming down the road. But for tonight, I'm Doug. That's Robbie, right over there.
I am Robbie.
That's
Sorry,
right
your screen froze there for a second. So
sorry, I was pointing to you.
Yeah, there you go. That's Doug. That's Doug right over there. That's
Robbie. Ready? Okay, cool. So thank you very much for joining us on the Sports Blitz. We will see you next time.
See you, everybody.